Welcome to another Varsity Sports Live. I'm Jason Andera, and the rest of my crew is here somewhere, I swear. It is a busy night, the last night of Varsity Sports Live for the season. Not the last night in high school football, but it is in North Dakota, and we've got 5 of the 7 championships done in South Dakota, and we're here to tell you about all 5 done in South Dakota, all 4 that happened at the Dakota Bowl today in Fargo, and my friend Tom Nieman is just offset here. He's going to come and talk to us. Jody Norstedt's getting his jacket on and ready for the last segment. And, yeah, this is the best week of the year, isn't it? I mean, we had a great game to finish up the 11AA tournament in Vermilion. We had a great game in North Dakota in Class A. That one went down to the final few seconds. Shanley and St. Mary played a really good first half. Second half got a little away, but I'm not going to spoil any of the endings for you. Jody Norstedt is going to give us a wrap of all that stuff happening in North Dakota. And don't forget, 2 more games to go in South Dakota, including the AAA championship, which has been great the last few years between Washington and Roosevelt. And then Madison takes on Dakota Valley in 11AA tomorrow. And we will preview everything about those games coming up later in this show. But right now, we're going to go to our friend Jody Norstedt in West Fargo. Jody, did you survive the 12 hours of football?
I did. It was magical. I mean, it started off with a bang. We had a kickoff return for a touchdown on the first action of the first game. That was pretty impressive. So we'll get to those highlights in a little bit. We'll get to the West Fargo reaction a little bit later. We're still working on that, but we have the highlights for you. Let's take a look. West Fargo taking on Minot for the state championship. The Packers trying to get their first since 2003. Minot trying to get their first title since 1980. Rough start for West Fargo. Andy Gravdall's been so good this year. He's trying to open it up, but his pass is intercepted by Peyton Lamore in the end zone. Big momentum swing. Lamore had himself a fabulous game. West Fargo gets on the board first, though. A 30-yard run by Alex Sell sets up Jared Franick for his 17th of the year. Packers in front 7-0. That was the score after the first quarter. Start of the second, here come the Magicians. A little misdirection, then Creighton Rudolph to Lofton Klabunde for the touchdown to make it 7-6 Minot. Klabunde had a great game. Magicians really get rolling. Dylan Danielson finds the end zone to make it 14-6 Magi with 8:10 left before halftime. West Fargo responds. Gravdall over the top of the defense to Tanner Zepeda for the 19-yard touchdown. Zepeda, one of the most well-spoken kids you'll ever interview. It's 14-12 Minot. The Packers take a lead on an Alex Sell rushing touchdown, but Minot comes back before the half. The touchdown pass to Kyler Stenberg. Minot's up 21-20 at the break. Big momentum shift to start the second half. Check this out. West Fargo goes for the onside kick, and the Packers recover. How about that? That leads to another frantic touchdown and a 28-21 Packer lead. The boys up front were really moving the Minot defensive line. Later, it's going to be Rudolph going to the air, trying to get his team back into this one, but it's picked off by Joe Pistorius. Great basketball player, great football player, missed the second half of last year, and boy, he really came up big today because on the ensuing possession, Pistorius, have a day, Mr. hauls in the 30-yard touchdown pass over Lamore. What a moment for him. West Fargo goes on to win this one. They are celebrating in Packertown. 56-28. West Fargo finishes off a perfect season. Again, we'll get reaction for you coming up a little bit later. But West Fargo celebrating deep into the night. Jay Gibson now 6-0 all-time in state championship games. How about that? In the AA tilt, St. Mary's trying for back-to-back state titles, taking on undefeated Shanley. The Deacons beat the Saints in the regular season, and St. Mary's was seeing red again early. Cole Gendrew on the run. Remember, he was injured in that first game at halftime, or in the first half. He was sacked by Joe Cava. His 9th sack of the year. He's just a sophomore. Look out for him the next 2 years. Shanley's offense had trouble all game. Cade Busick's pass is picked off by Mason Spees. Great reaction time by the junior. The Saints have some good field position, but it doesn't lead to a score. We have all sorts of turnovers early. A muffed punt here, and Shanley gets the ball back. But on a 4th and 2, they go for it, and Busick is stopped short of the first down. I told you they struggled on offense. The first touchdown comes with under 3 minutes remaining in the first half. Gendrew on the keeper, zips through the defense, makes it 7-0 St. Mary's. They get another score on the final play before halftime. Jonah Krebs, hey, what's the call, Coach Smirker? Well, I'm just going to rumble in through the defense, making it 14-0 St. Mary's at halftime. The Saints with all the momentum going into the third, but they fumble twice to start the third quarter. The Deacons defense getting the job done, creating some turnovers. They finally get a much-needed spark from the offense. Busek lets one fly to the end zone. Cam Seville, holla, makes a highlight reel catch. His 8th touchdown catch of the year draws the Deacons within 8 at 14-6, but St. Mary's runs away with this one down the stretch. Gendrew getting some redemption after getting injured in that first meeting with the Deacons. The touchdown pass to Luke Cambites makes it 21-6 going into the fourth. The regular season meeting had a signature bruising run. This one's pretty good too. Shanley's Caleb Chrisman had the one in the regular season. This is Krebs running all over the defense. 78 yards and a pair of TDs for him. St. Mary's wins big, 31-12. They're back-to-back champs. They win their 4th state title in 5 years, and they get that sweet revenge against the Deacons in the process.
I really wanted it. I mean, I feel like I didn't get my chance to show what I was capable of in that game. I knew if we had a couple other players that were out too, I knew if we all got healthy and played this game, we would get the win.
I know it motivated everybody, but it motivated me so much. I'd watch film and I just wanted it so bad, and I knew everybody wanted to win too.
Our defense stopped anything tonight. Our offense could run the ball, we could pass the ball. It was really physical game, but we came out on top. It's a great feeling, just all the hard work that we put in and everything we did just paid off.
An awesome thing when you get here, but it's even more awesome when you get here and your kids really play well. And all the credit to our kids and our team and our seniors. They played extremely well today.
How about that? St. Mary's keeps the title back in Bismarck. The Class A title came down to a pair of unbeatens. The storyline surrounding this one, Langdon area Edmore Munich's balanced offense against Hillsboro Central Valley's ground and pound, and that was working. Grant Skager over 2,000 rushing yards on the year, scores on a 6-yard touchdown. That battle in the trenches was great today. Langdon answers in the second quarter. Jacob Delville already with 2,000 yards passing on the year, tosses a touchdown to Chase Peebles, and the Burros lead is cut to 8-6. Then it turns into a defensive battle. Jack Camrud said earlier this week that they'd have to contain Delville in the pocket. Well, that'll work. It's his 13th and a half sack. The pass rush also created other mistakes. Delville floats a pass to the middle of the field, and Riley Peterson intercepts the pass. It's his 2nd interception of the day, and he turns it into a pretty decent return. Watch the hit by Delville there. It's a quarterback. The offense capitalizes. Ryan Troffgruben off play action over the middle for Tyler Bergstrom. The play action works so well because they run the ball so well. 21-yard touchdown makes it 16-6 Hillsboro Central Valley. The Cardinals threatening to score early in the fourth on a 4th and goal from the 1, but the snap surprises Delville. The Burros bury him in the backfield. The defense gives Langdon Edmore Munich another shot though, but Hillsboro Central Valley, well, they create another turnover. Delville's pass picked off by Oscar Benson, just a sophomore. Take another look at this diving interception. Oh boy, he's going to be one to watch next year and the year after. Langdon finally strikes with 1:16 left. Delville to Anthony Economy for the touchdown. The 2-point conversion cuts the lead to 16-14. They have hope. They need the onside kick to have a chance though. They recover the first attempt, but it was ruled illegal. The second attempt is covered by the Burros. And for the first time since becoming a co-op, Hillsboro Central Valley claims the state football championship with a 16-14 victory. Grant Skager finishes with 188 yards rushing behind that physical offensive line, a touchdown as well. Delville, 210 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns. Anthony Economy with a big receiving day as well as he goes out as a runner-up, but it was the defense for Hillsboro Central Valley that came up big to secure the championship.
We kind of broke down their offense by their formation, and from that we kind of pinpointed what they're going to do, and it helped a lot.
We blitzed hard in the beginning, and then we knew that they were a good passing team, so we got in our zones and we kind of shut down.
As a coach, it's so awesome, man. And it doesn't matter if we win or lose. It's proud of these kids, how they compete with their attitude and effort. You know, these kids work so hard. They do what they're coached, and I'm so thankful for them.
I couldn't imagine being here. Just to even hear that we were going to be in the state tournament was just mind-blowing itself. And to hold that trophy, it was amazing. I'm also very sad that my football season's ending, but I mean, as a senior, I couldn't have asked for a better ending of a senior year.
How about that? Grant Skager and the Burros going out on top. Our first game of the day pitted two explosive offenses against one another. Undefeated Weimar-Lidgerwood against one-loss Shiloh Christian. Speaking of explosive, this game started with a bang on the opening kickoff. Warburg senior Luke Furch returns it 97 yards for the touchdown. 8-zip early for Weimar-Lidgerwood. Get ready to see a lot of number 11. Right back come the Skyhawks. On the ensuing possession, they go 68 yards on 7 plays, capped off by this 40-yard touchdown pass from sophomore Jaden Mitchell to his brother Jonas, and the game is knotted up at 8 apiece. Now remember that first guy? Here he is again. This time he's on defense, and he leaps up to make the interception. He did it all today. Warburg's now up 14-8 on 2 first touchdowns, so why not add a third? He takes it 90 yards down the sideline right in front of the Shiloh bench, and he is gone. 20-8, Warburg's lead. Furch entered the game with 14 total touchdowns. He nearly had half that total today. The Skyhawks down 12, but they don't quit. Trey Burnell sprints around the edge for the 11-yard score 3 minutes before halftime, cutting the lead to 20-14. If you thought we were done scoring in the first half, guess again. This time it's the Warbirds, though. Through the air, Wyatt Harless showing off that strong arm, right on the money to Andy Vasquez. We've seen that before. 60 yards to the end zone, and we're still not done scoring in the first half. The Skyhawks work quickly. Remember, this is 9-man. They play wide open. They put together a scoring drive in just over a minute. Mitchell to Mitchell again. Just 5 seconds left in the first half when they do it. Warburg's up by just 6, 26-20. The game would swing on the opening drive of the second half. The Skyhawks moving the ball well, but Keenan Fagerlin, their leading rusher, fumbles it. The Warbirds capitalize. Harless to, Furch. Is there an echo in here? He tied a Dakota record with 6 touchdowns. Warbirds up 32-20. The defense allows just 6 points the rest of the way. Check out this highlight. Aaron Bonenstingle deflects the pass, makes the interception. He's fired up, and rightfully so. Weimar-Lidgerwood wins its 4th state championship as a co-op with a convincing 60-26 victory. Furch, 10 carries, 168 yards, 4 touchdowns. That was just on the ground. Had the receiving score, had the kick return for a touchdown. Harless, 9 of 11, 208 through the air and 2 touchdowns. Vasquez with another big day. Good day for the Mitchell brothers. But hey, the points are a Dakota Bowl record for Weimar-Lidgerwood with the 60 points. What a game by the offense, and it started with that opening kickoff return by Furch.
We could set it up a lot better because he kicked it so deep, and I faked left, went right, hit a hole, started running, looked up on the Jumbotron, could see myself running, no one was going to catch me. Really cool moment. And it's unbelievable. It's also kind of sad. Never get to play football again with my brothers.
One word, he's a dude. I didn't really think about who was scoring. I was just thinking about trying to get in the end zone, against a good team, a state championship level team.
It was crazy. We weren't expecting to score 60, but it happened one play after another, just explosions, and it was just gone, and players made plays.
Champion, finally did it. Took 4 years to get it done, finally got it done. Like a big monkey on your back, it's not there anymore.
And he might shave that beard someday, and that won't be there anymore. That is tremendous. I could never grow that. But anyway, congrats to the Warbirds. And let's get back to that reaction on West Fargo. The Packers win it 56-28. There was a gutsy play call at halftime to go for an onside kick that really swung momentum for the Packers when they recovered that and then scored. Here's a listen to the sound afterward.
I was like, if we don't get this onside kick, I don't know what's going to happen. But once we got it, it shifted every momentum in the whole room. Oh, I was so happy. I mean, it means a lot to these guys and to our parents. I'm so proud of these guys. They've really battled through the second half. And, I mean, it's a humbling experience to win the state championship.
The whole year, we really just wanted to win the semifinals and get here. But, semifinals was our main goal because, you can't get here and when your school is traditionally in the semifinals choking. But we knew that this team could break that and get here and get the job done.
It's the most unbelievable feeling in the world. There's not a guy in this team that I don't like, that I wouldn't want to be with all the time. And really, the fact that we won a state championship and this is the last game, it sucks because I'm going to miss these guys. I'm going to miss playing with them. I'm going to miss practicing with them every day.
It does suck when the football season ends. But a couple of things, guys, I want to point out. 3 perfect seasons. West Fargo, Hillsboro Central Valley, and Weimar-Lidgerwood. St. Mary's avenged one of their only losses. They ended up losing 2 games, but they do that. And one other thing that I thought was pretty interesting, Hillsboro Central Valley lost to St. Mary's in the semifinals of Class 2A last year. They said that really motivated them. They wanted to play like St. Mary's the following year. They go out, they get the job done, and they both end up as state champions today. Dan Smearker said, hey, I watched that Grant Skager piece when you talked about them trying to model their game after our game, and I thought that was pretty cool.
I can't believe there's only one undefeated team at the end of the season in North Dakota. Isn't that right?
What do you mean?
I thought there was just one. Maybe I misheard that, but I thought West Fargo was the only team that ended the season undefeated.
No, we had 3A. Yeah.
Wyndmere, Lidgerwood.
Wyndmere, Lidgerwood, Hillsboro, Central Valley.
I need to pay attention more.
Come on, Jandy. You're stuck in South Dakota now.
I don't remember. Yeah, let's get back to South Dakota. Good stuff. Go grow a beard.
Great post-game stuff. Thanks a lot, Jody, up in West Fargo, and Grant Skager, mind blown by all of this. And it is kind of sad to hear these guys talk about never getting to play high school football again, but what a great finish.
I just remembered why I love this week so much is listening to those post-game interviews. They are tremendous. I mean, they are just flat out spewing their emotions as it comes out, and I just could soak it up all day.
All right, we got more of that, we hope, coming up from South Dakota. We've got today's 2 games at the Dome in Vermilion, including a great finish between Pierre and Harrisburg in the 11AA Championship. South Dakota Championships coming up next on Varsity Sports Live.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Farmers Union Insurance Agency and South Dakota State University.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live, our final football Varsity Sports Live of the 2017 season. Jason, I know you're sad about that. But
it is. It really is sad. And, the best part is, like I said, just enjoying this week with these seniors, trying to soak up as much football as they can.
North Dakota gets theirs done in one day. They got 4 classes. We take a little longer in South Dakota. Over 3 days, play our 7 classes out. We're 2/3 of the way there. And 2 good 11-man games at the Dakota Dome in Vermilion here on this Friday. And let's get to it, starting with the 11B Championship, Jason. Bridgewater, Emory-Eaton coming in at 9-2. Sioux Falls Christian, you see here, in the all-blues, played in their first football championship game in school history, which isn't all that long, and they get out to a good start.
You don't see them pass very much. In fact, I think they only averaged less than 5 passes per game, but this first drive, 17 plays, 8 minutes, 21 seconds, and they cap it off with Tyler Van Horsen getting a running touchdown for 15 yards.
They got Van Horsen, they've got Parker Nelson, who's had an incredible season as a running back. He gets them going there, and then a little razzle-dazzle here as they hand it off about 3 times. Van Horsen again, and it's 12-0 Sioux Falls Christian. Sioux Falls Christian only threw 3 passes in this game, and 2 of them got picked off.
Yeah, that is disappointing when you don't throw the ball a lot. Sometimes you get to the Dome and you think, you know what, there's no weather here, there's no wind, I can put it up. Well, Bridgewater Emory-Eaton was all over it.
Brady Hawkins is number 5 here for the Seahawks. He had both of those interceptions. This one goes back away. After it was 12-0 at halftime, Bridgewater Emory-Eaton gets on the board here. Hawkins to Dustin Weber. Down to the goal line, Jamin Aaron would get the touchdown here, and it's 12-6 at the end of 3 quarters. And then here in the 4th, Hawkins is intercepted himself by Van Horsen.
Yeah, those momentum killers really hurt. I mean, to only be down by 6 points at that point for the Seahawks was a huge, huge gain. But this is one guy, they just rode him the rest of the ball game. Parker Nelson, 40 carries. That's a Dakota, or not a Dakota Bowl record, a 11B state championship record.
Look at that catch by Mitch Goodberry on the 2-point conversion. So about 6.5 minutes left in the ball game. 20-6, Christian in the lead. Bridgewater Emory-Eaton gets the ball back here.
There's a nice catch.
And Hawkins to Derek Storm down to the 2-yard line, and then Aaron would take that in again. It's 20-12, still with some time left.
Still a ball game at this point. Need the onside kick, and it looks like they have it, but do they, Tom?
They did get it, but Bridgewater Emory-Eaton touched the ball first. You can't do that. So Sioux Falls Christian gets the football. They're trying to run the clock out. And Nelson goes in for another touchdown. So whatevs. They get the score there to go up 27-12. And they hang on to win it by that margin. And Sioux Falls Christian finishes an 11-1 season with their first state football championship. 40 carries, 253 yards for Parker Nelson. Sioux Falls Christian ran 68 plays. Bridgewater Emory-Eaton only ran 31 plays in the ball game. and that big running game for the Chargers took its toll.
Well, that's what they've done all season long, and watch out, this Sioux Falls Christian team only starts 4 seniors. Let's hear from the Chargers on their first state championship.
Our kids came in, they embraced who we were. They were not individuals. They knew we had to give the ball to Parker. They knew we had to, run off tackle. They knew we had to do certain things to be state champs, and that's what they did, and they embraced that. And they cared about each other, they value each other, they love each other, and I'm proud of them for that.
The win is amazing. Bridgewater was a very worthy opponent. They made it hard on every single carry. But I got to give credit to my O-line. My O-line created everything for us like they happened all season long. They're incredible.
We just had to dig deep. We had to grind it out. We had to not get down on ourselves when they made a few good plays. We had to just keep doing what we do, and that's being a team and playing together and making plays. And I think we did that in the end.
All right, Sioux Falls Christian, the 11B champions for 2017. Jason, 9AA championship on Thursday. Got Andy McCants for Gregory's Gorillas.
This guy is not only the best passer, he can also run the football a little bit. 45-yard touchdown to get things started, and then he kept tossing it around.
Yeah, they got a great bunch of receivers. Jade Vandorf, is that a touchdown?
Yes, there was a little wrestling going on afterwards, but it was a touchdown.
J.J. Beck with a touchdown reception, and then McCants goes to Blake Bowes, and all these guys just got involved in this offense all season. McCants, 10 for 14, 256 yards in the first half, and his counterpart for Irene Wakanda, Trey King, was very good as well.
This is a guy who ran for 33 touchdowns on the year, dives one in. He can throw the ball, as you see right there. I believe that's Dallas Lee coming down with it. And he also can play some defense. 7 interceptions in the regular season, 2 in this game. He picks one off right before halftime. Trey King and Andy McCants, the 2 best quarterbacks in 9-man football, going head-to-head.
Gregory had the lead going into the locker room, 32-15 after that big first half, and then McCants went back to work. J.J. Beck, not going down. Another touchdown for him.
One of the few juniors on this Gregory team.
And then McCants again to Blake Bowes for another 30-yard plus. What a great catch.
You gotta be kidding me. Take a look at that one again. He gets it, brings it in. Great effort by Bowes, great placement by McCants, and the Gregory Gorillas, 3rd time in 4 years, get to hoist that trophy.
Big numbers on the scoreboard as 56-30 is the final. The Gorillas go 12-0. Irene Wakanda finishes 10-2 on the season. Trey King, 3 touchdowns through the air. He had 2 interceptions, picked off McCants twice, but Andy McCants 5 touchdown passes. Gregory had 631 total yards in this game, 480 of them by Andy McCants, and they win it 56-30. And afterwards, here are the Gorillas.
Well, it's going to be hard to beat this one, I think. Back-to-back, and 3 out of 4 of their years, they won a state championship. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, counting middle school and high school, they've only lost 4 games total. And that was a first-round playoff loss, I think, in 2015. So that's not bad.
Everyone played so great, all us seniors, everybody on the team. I had great time to pass. Everyone made great plays on the ball. It's just a special game.
Man, we've been together since kindergarten, all of us. So from playing on the great playground, just doing everything together, man, it's awesome. We've just a tight bond between all of us. It's awesome.
We've had a great game plan coming into this game, and Trey King, he's a great quarterback. Give him credit out there, but our defense held him up great, and it was fun being out there, and I'm glad I had all those teammates help me around there.
Great story over the last 4 years for the Gorillas as they win the 9AA championship. 9A here, Jason. Corsica Stickney unbeaten. Britton-Hecla coming in at 10-1. And Cordell Menning is a monster of a running back for Corsica Stickney.
Just
First touchdown there.
At this game, the size difference was very noticeable, and the physicality belonged to the Jaguars here.
All right, after that mess up, Menning goes in again. Cordell Menning, 6'4", 245 pounds, and it's 16-0 Corsica Stickney early. But second quarter here, Tayon Hawkins, 16-yard run down to the 1. Parker Marlowe would take that in for a touchdown, made it 16-8. And then they tie it up here on another run by Hawkins.
They've got 3 different running backs, and they've really mixed them up this year. Preston Jones sometimes will get it, Stanley Haskins sometimes, but this was Tayon Teon's quarter big time. Some huge runs for Mr. Hawkins.
Big second quarter for Britton-Hecla. They tied up at 16 there, and then they start trading scores. Bryce Plamp staying on his feet, and he goes 48 yards, and the Jaguars back in the lead 24-16. And then Hawkins comes back again with his second touchdown run, ties it up to 24.
We are literally trading scores left and right. Nice face there, by the way.
Jags turn again. Blake Mokey to Kason Idy. And he gets down to the 1 yard line there. They would punch that in for a touchdown. And it's 30-24 at halftime. But third quarter here, Stanley Haskins Jr. 3-yard touchdown run. Ties it at 30, Jason. More score for score. Mokey to Plamp. That's a touchdown, 36-30.
What a fun game. Back and forth, but then a fourth down stand. Look at that. The little guy, Preston Jones, man's up against Cordell Menning, and then a crazy, crazy play.
All right, Mokey comes in here right there and strips it out, and the Jags cannot get on top of it. Skylar McConnell scoops it up and scores to tie the game with 36.
I thought maybe he was down right there, but the ball did come loose before his knee came out. And yes, you can advance a fumble, and that's what he did the last 3 yards. And then we came down to 10 seconds left in the ball game, and Blake Mokey, no timeouts left, doesn't throw it away on third down, and we've got overtime.
So Britton-Hecla came from 16-0 down. They tied at 36. They get it first in overtime. Hawkins scores on their first play. They get to the lead. They get the 2-point conversion as well. So they're up 44-36. And then it's 3rd and goal for Corsica Stickney here. And you don't want that to happen at that moment, but they cannot punch it in. It's a turnover. And Britton-Hecla.
Oh, the exchange right there. You can see he never quite had the ball. That's the guy they want to have the ball at the 1 yard line, trust me. But Menning laughs it off a little bit, but that has got to hurt.
First loss of the year for Corsica Stickney. Britton-Hecla gets to 11-1 on their season. The Braves win the 9A championship, and some of the numbers in the 44-36 overtime win. Britton-Hecla had 5 fumbles in the game. They lost a couple of them. They overcome that adversity. Hawkins with 148 yards and 3 touchdowns for Britton-Hecla in a championship season, Jace.
Yeah, quite a season. Lost their first game of the year, really found their groove, and then played the toughest game of the year. They got the win. They felt pretty good after the win.
Well, all playoff long, we had to do that, so we got kind of accustomed to it. But at the state level, yeah, and my boys, it feels amazing. I can't even talk right now. I love my team. Nobody had the look in their eye that they were giving up, and they kept opening holes for me, and we pulled it through.
We contemplated kicking a field goal at the end, and we had only kicked, I think, 3 extra points all year. We hadn't tried a field goal, but that was close. So that was maybe, but you know, hindsight's 20/20. So if I could do one thing over, I might have tried a field goal there.
We never had a look of concern on our faces in the sideline, and when we went into overtime, they all had a smile on their face, and then I knew we were in good shape because they play with so much heart, and they've been down a lot of times this year, but never gave up. I usually don't get nervous, but I have a little luck charm in my pocket. I squeezed it a little harder from a little girl that we have from our team here. She was in a hospital for the last couple months in a bad accident, so I hold this through the whole playoff game, and I squeezed it a little tighter, and it must have worked. It must have worked, so.
It worked all right.
Great story. Britton-Hecla, 9A champions. In 9B, Jason, Coleman-Egan coming in at 11-0, unbeaten. They were the 9A champs last year. Sully Buttes in the purple uniforms here, also at 11-0. And Devin Clevin on that first snap, it goes over his head, and then Cade Gross with a touchdown to put Coleman-Egan in the lead early.
Yeah, right away, the momentum was all Coleman-Egan. They did get shut down on their first drive of the game, but after that, scored on the Cade Gross touchdown after the turnover, and then Bodie Gross does his thing, running one in.
14-0 Coleman-Egan, and then they go up 22-0. Gross to Volker. 22-0 is the lead, but late in the half here, Devin Clevin goes to Nick Whitler, just a sophomore. And they get back within 22-6. But every time Sully Buttes would get close, Cade Gross would do something like this.
And it would be the very next play almost every time. You'll see that theme coming. He returned the kick return that time. Morris Hofer gets in the third quarter to keep this reasonable. Sully Buttes definitely did not quit in this game. But guess what happens? They have a 4th down to try to get back into this ball game. And Devin Clevin finds his man in the end zone.
Grant Johnson with the catch there. It's 30-20.
And
still a ball game, but this is 12 seconds later, and that's Cody Gross.
Cade, yes.
Or excuse me, Cade Gross.
Combination of Bodie.
Coleman-Egan had 3 one-play touchdown drives on those Cade Gross runs. And then Clevin goes to Whitler here to still make it a 10-point game, still 36-26.
And a little 2-point conversion. That got him within 1 score. That was a very important score right there.
4.5 to go, but again, guess what happened?
Take a guess.
This is 12 seconds after Sully Butts just scored. And Cade Gross, staying on his feet, goes 50 yards this time. And that 1 touchdown deficit for Sully Butts turns into a couple scores.
Just a killer.
And Coleman-Egan, 9A champs last year, 9B champions this year. They finish undefeated at 12-0. First loss of the season for Sully Butts. And you see the numbers there for Devin Clevin and his guys, but it was Gross and Gross, the cousins for Coleman-Egan, who rack up all those yards on the ground. Sully Butts ran 79 plays.
Yeah.
Coleman-Egan ran 44 plays.
Right.
35 fewer plays, but they had all those big plays.
Well, a lot of one-play drives will do that for you. And Sully Butts, give them credit. They did not quit, and we'll hear a little bit from their coach within this package. But Coleman-Egan happy after the win.
They don't get shook up. Our team isn't really that emotional about things like that. They just know to play hard, stay together. So they didn't really get shook up. It was more of just, we got to start getting our act together and playing harder and doing what we're taught to do.
Yeah, we were just, whenever they make a big play, we just keep telling our teammates, we got to stay positive, we got to keep going hard, because we know we could stop them in the end.
Every time they got a big play, we answer a big play back. It felt like we just got it back and we're just starting to roll again. It's awesome, especially for those guys cheering for us. It's great. It's a great feeling, and I'm glad we could do that for them.
Well, we just told them they had to pick up their level of play. We were very capable of playing at that level, but when you have penalties and turnovers, it's hard to play at that level. The second half, we came out and we met the challenge, and I couldn't be prouder of our guys, because we could have been defeated by a great margin, and we kept battling and kept coming back and made a game of it in the second half.
All right, that's the second time in the last 3 years Sully Butts has been in a championship game, but they come up short this year. And let's go back to the late game tonight down at Vermilion, Jason. This is the 11 AA championship at Pierre and Harrisburg. And Hunter Headley to Jack Rayburn there to get the scoring started. Tigers out to the lead. And then Jack Anderson with a touchdown run, and Harrisburg's up 14-0.
Yeah, they controlled the statistics in this game. They controlled the ball. Hunter Headley was throwing the ball well. Jack Anderson running well. Everything going great for the Tigers to get things started. Then a perfect pass by Peyton Zabel.
Zabel to Mike Lusk. Lusk had 2 catches in the game, and they were both huge. As Pierre gets going there, 14-7 ball game, and then Headley again on a touchdown run, and it's 21-7 Harrisburg in the lead.
It's a killer right here.
Ensuing kickoff, Jamie.
The ensuing kickoff, they make a big play, and in a game where they did get statistically beat up, they made all these little plays and made a lot of big plays. This was a killer. I believe that was
Barrett Stout.
Stout, yes.
On the return there, so it's 21-14. Harrisburg in the lead at halftime, and then there was all kinds of fumbles and miscues. There were 3 fumbles to start the second half on 3 consecutive possessions. And then Pierre,
look at that,
an interception. That's Michael Curry who picks it up off somebody's foot. So 4 turnovers right away to begin the second half. But then Zabel.
That changed the game right there. Great catch by Stout once again. He is just a sophomore. And then on the very next play, Zabel in the air again, putting it right where Michael Lusk can come down with it. 2 huge daggers right there for the Govs.
So Pierre comes from down 21-7. They tie it up at 21. They get a field goal here by Casey Williams with just under 6 minutes to go. So the Govs get the lead at 24-21.
Big fourth down here.
That was on a 4th and 21 for Harrisburg on their last drive. Catch there by Brooks Fuller, but then Matt Rounds forces a fumble. Austin Sanger on it for the Governors. And they come from behind big to come back and win big, 24-21. So Pierre finishes at 9-3. Remember, Harrisburg beat Pierre early on in the year, 25-20 in that game that was delayed by weather that they ended up making up. And the Govs get a little vengeance here in this one, 24-21 is the final. This is the second state championship in the last 5 years for Pierre.
Pierre did not run the ball for more than a yard per carry, basically. Got dominated in total yards, but somehow, some way made enough big plays to get the win.
Pierre had 20 carries for 19 yards
Yeah,
rushing.
not even 1 yard
Not even
per
1
carry.
yard per carry, but Zabel with almost 200 yards through the air. Mike Lusk, 2 catches, both of them for touchdowns. Jack Anderson, 82 yards on the ground for the Tigers. And we've got some post-game reaction from the 11 AA championship.
Oh, man, it's crazy that it's done, but, I mean, you don't want to finish it any other way. And, you know, today wasn't any different than the rest of the season. It was a roller coaster of a game. You know, I mean, they thoroughly outplayed us in the first half, and, you know, our special teams and defense really took over as the game went on. And, you know, credit to both of those. You know, I mean, they're Harrisburg's defense. They held our offense in check the whole game. You know, I mean, and they played good enough to win. You know, and I said our defense and special teams was really the big reason that we were able to bring it home tonight. Oh, we believed, baby. That was what it was all about. We believed in each other. We never lost faith, and we just kept fighting. We just kept clawing for every inch and every yard.
It's something that we've been thinking about since we were just little kids, you know, watching the 2013 team come here and win it. It's been one of our obviously the main goal for us, so it was awesome to win it. Just bring it home back to Pierre.
You got something on your face, Michael. But
That boy, Michael had a great game with those 2 touchdown catches. And you got to feel a little bit for Harrisburg. Harrisburg had a terrible start to the season. Hunter Headley was out for a couple of games, and they kind of struggled with their offense that way. But to come back and get to the championship game was big for Harrisburg.
Terrible, terrible luck in championship games for Harrisburg over the last few years. But Pierre came back and, like I said, just made the big plays. Every other category went to Harrisburg. Those turnovers killed them. The punt block killed them. The kickoff return that they gave up, those are going to haunt you. Maybe not for the rest of your life, but definitely for a while, Harrisburg.
All right, 5 games down in South Dakota, still 2 to go. Coming up on Saturday at the Dome in Vermilion. In the afternoon, it'll be Madison and Dakota Valley, and then Saturday night, Sioux Falls, Washington, Sioux Falls, Roosevelt. We'll tell you about those games. A little preview coming up next of the championship games on Saturday.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Farmers Union Insurance Agency and South Dakota State University.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live here on Championship Friday night in the Dakotas. And 2 more games coming up on Saturday, Jandy, in South Dakota. And let's talk about the 11 3A championship game first.
Let's talk about the 11 AAA. Look at the semifinals, by the way. 42-41, 41-40. If that's any indication of what we're in for on Saturday, get ready. The last couple of years have been awesome. Sioux Falls, Washington comes in undefeated, 11-0, and they've had a tremendous season. Let's take a look at some of the highlights that they've had throughout this season and who makes their team go. It's not only a one-person show, that's for sure. Jaden Johansson's had a great time throwing to several receivers, including Zach Hines. You see Seth Benson right there, maybe the best player in the state, making some plays on defense. They're averaging 45 points a game, giving up 15, and those are mostly blowouts. And then this guy, Tupac Capea, I can't say enough about what he brings to the table.
27 touchdowns on the ground for Tupac. He's got 11 in the first 2 playoff games, but you see Logan Utek there, and you see the numbers for Jaden Johansson through the air, 24 touchdowns. This is Washington got a couple of scares during the season, especially against Rhapsody Stevens, who probably should have beat him but lost 29-28. In the semis against O'Gorman, O'Gorman kind of showed the way on maybe how to beat Washington.
They did. There's some vulnerability at cornerback, but the key for that is a guy like Max Tibbetts, Canyon Bauer, and Nick Billion who can expose that. Does Roosevelt have those pieces to be able to expose their corners? I don't know. And with the way Seth Benson covers the middle of the field and Logan Utek, if he's not cramping up like he was in the semifinals, I know that's going to make a big, big difference on how they do. And speaking of Roosevelt, this is a team that, despite their ups and downs, have only lost 1 game this year, and that was back on September 1st to Washington. Here's a little picture from that game.
And it was 41-7 in this game, but again, it was the second game of the regular season. It was more than 2 months ago. Roosevelt has been one of those teams that's improved over the course of the year.
They did this experiment at quarterback where they rotated between Carter Lohr and Brady Dannenbring last couple games now, that's almost exclusively Carter Lohr, who's a much more mobile quarterback, maybe about the same as a passing quarterback, but he brings so much more playmaking ability. And then when you have a guy like Nick Hoekstra, who runs for 772 yards, he's received for almost 600 yards, he makes touchdowns on both sides, and then you see Tyler Feldkamp, a freshman who's really stepped up, wasn't there at the beginning of the year, take over for Nathan Barnes and has made a huge impact on this team. So they're going to need some big plays from the Tyler Feldkamps, the Carter Lohrs, the Nick Hoekstras, somehow to beat the Giants that are the Washington Warriors.
Well, Roosevelt did make a bunch of huge plays in the semifinals. This is the win over Brandon Valley, 41-40. I think that was in overtime with Carter Lohr running around back there. He made a bunch of those scrambling plays for Sioux Falls Roosevelt. And again, Washington and Roosevelt on Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, I believe, at the Dome. It is Madison taking on Dakota Valley in the 11A championship. Both teams unbeaten at 11-0.
Both teams unbeaten. They have a ton of common opponents. But Madison, it's really interesting, gets all the credit as that #1 team. Dakota Valley compares very favorably, but how can you argue with a team like this? 51 combined touchdowns between those two guys. The Yankees are just crazy good athletes.
You got Jaden, you got Jackson Yankee that can catch it, run it, return it. Pretty much do everything. And you got Giles at quarterback who lays it out there and those guys go and get it. But as you said, Madison and Dakota Valley did not play each other during the regular season, but they both beat Millbank, they both beat West Central, both beat T-Area, both beat Lennox. The scores were comparable as well, so you go into this championship game thinking Madison may be a little bit of a favorite, but Dakota Valley is going to be up to the challenge.
I just have to add, though, look at that, 11.4 points against. Their defense doesn't get enough credit. Doyle Brown, Nick Andreessen, tremendous defensive players for this team. And, of course, the Yankees play defense as well, so they're going to have to bring their A-game defensively. On the other side, you've got Dakota Valley. And Dakota Valley, like we said, they're a team that spreads it out amongst many, many players. Nate Rice, Austin Carter, Sam Chesterman, Zach Paulson. All these guys can hurt you, and that's going to be a guessing game for Madison all day long is which one is going to get hot. And talk about defense again. They've given up 12.7, so very, very similar on the numbers there.
Yeah, they are offensively and defensively almost identical to Madison.
But they make the big plays on defense. Here's a great example against T, where they turn turnovers into touchdowns. Not to say that Madison can't do that with their big playmakers, but that's the secret weapon for this Panther team is they make huge plays on the defensive side of the ball.
All right, both 11-0, both have romped through the playoffs and won both of their playoff games pretty easily. And you get down on the turf at the Dakota Dome, Madison gets a little more dangerous. This is going to be really good, though, with Dakota Valley.
Madison, 5 years in a row now, have made it to the Dome. Dakota Valley's Jeff Vandenhall said, we tried to kind of pattern what we do after what Madison did, kind of transforming into a football school. And they feel like they're just beginning now maybe a dynasty of year after year after year after year after good teams. And this might be that big step that they need to get to the Dome this year and knock off a new traditional power like Madison.
Well, yeah, I mean, you talk about how powerhouses and programs that have really built it up, and Coach Hodson there in Madison
he's
just been unbelievable. And they've had all these players come through there. You had Leighton last year, and all these guys have really stepped up this year. But, I mean, this is going to be so fun to watch just to see Madison for one thing and then see Dakota Valley and if they can hang.
You know, last year I thought that T versus Madison game would be a lot closer, and it was similar to this, and Madison just jumped on them right away. So Dakota Valley's going to have to keep them on their heels for the first quarter, and if they can keep them steady, that's kind of what West Central did to Madison early, is they kept them at bay for the first half and played a close game. That's about as close of a game as they've played all season long. Other than that, Madison has been truly impressive.
It's going to be a super Saturday, isn't it?
Super Saturday.
And just in recent years, they've taken one of those games off as Saturday. There's just two games on Saturday, so you can get that big crowd for Washington and Roosevelt coming in there at night.
And Washington, Roosevelt, a lot of people are just giving the championship to Washington because they've been so dominant. But these AAA championship games have been close over the last couple of years. And I'll tell you what, Roosevelt is not going to play the same game that they played the first time around. Anytime you play a team the second time, there's going to be some changes. They didn't see Tyler Feldkamp before. they're going to have to make some changes to be able to withstand this Roosevelt offense. Now, Roosevelt has struggled from time to time putting up some impact on offense as well, and we know that's not going to be easy against a Washington defense.
All right, Washington,
I
Roosevelt,
can't wait.
7 o'clock on Saturday night in Vermilion, and then Madison, Dakota Valley at 1 o'clock on Saturday in the 11A championship. When we come back, the rundown, the big, huge plays for a lot of these seniors in their final games in the championships, the rundown coming up next. All right, welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. The rundown coming up here in a minute. It's kind of a sad day because the football seasons are coming to an end in high school. The good thing is Jason will go home and talk to his family for the first time in a couple of months, so good
Daddy.
for you.
Daddy's home. Yeah.
Let's get to the rundown here, Jandy. One big, huge play from all the championship games. Let's start with Sully Buttes and Coleman-Egan and Cade Gross.
The Chargers still having nightmares about Cade Gross going off the left side. He had a tremendous game, and Coleman-Egan, 2 years in a row, hoists the trophy.
4 total touchdowns in that game for Cade Gross. For Britton-Hecla, Tayon Hawkins.
This game was the most fun. Back and forth all game long, and the Braves somehow find a way to win.
3 touchdowns on the ground there for Hawkins. Andy McCants and Gregory in 9AA.
He's good. He's really good. I'm convinced he's the best passing quarterback in the state.
7 total touchdowns for McCants in that game. Sioux Falls Christian and Parker Nelson get their first state championship.
How about that? 40 carries the team to their first state championship.
Harrisburg and Pierre. Harrisburg had a 21-7 lead. Peyton Zabel, one of his 2 touchdown passes to Mike Lusk as they win 24-21.
Great timing. Zabel put it right where it needed to be on both of those touchdown passes.
In North Dakota, Wyndmere Lidgerwood in 9-man, 60-23 to win the state championship.
Great win for them. They've had a lot of great championship moments. This one pretty special, 60-26.
In Class A, Hillsboro Central Valley over Langdon Edmore Minnick.
This was the best of the championships in North Dakota on Friday, and Hillsboro Central Valley stays undefeated to win Class A.
Grant Skager, 188 yards on the ground there. St. Mary's wins the 2A championship over Fargo Shannon.
Little revenge. Cole Gendreau has been a quarterback for so long for that team and gets the championship on his senior year.
And then in the big schools, Pistorius a touchdown there. Andy Gravdahl, 80 yards and 2 touchdowns through the area at 127 yards rushing for Gravdahl as they win the 3A championship, first time since 2003 for West Fargo.
How about that? They've had such great teams over the last couple years get past that semifinal hump and take the trophy. Love it.
And all these, we talk about all these great seniors this year. Who are a couple that have stood out? Name one in North Dakota besides Andy Gravdahl.
Besides Andy Gravdahl, well, Jacob Delvo had a tremendous year as well. And Cole Gendreau, we just talked about him. He's great. Jacob Olson for Century didn't make it to the bowl this year, but he had a great season as well. There's a ton of them.
All right.
Skager.
Grant Skager was one of our favorite guys all year with a lot of great moves. In South Dakota, Peyton Zabel leads Pierre back to a state championship.
Peyton Zabel didn't put up the huge numbers today like he has, but that's the toughest defense in that class by far. And Harrisburg made some big plays, pressured him a ton, but when he made the passes, they were perfect, spot on. Michael Lusk, we didn't know who the playmakers for Pierre would be this year. Michael Lusk came through in a huge way in the playoffs.
Sioux Falls Christian, I remember sitting here not long ago, it's 5-6 years when they just started the football program in Sioux Falls Christian, and here they are now, the 11B state champions.
They've slowly been building up, and the program over the last 3 years has taken some huge leaps under Jake Pettengill and that coaching staff. And to see what Parker Nelson did as a junior, setting records that Keegan Van Egdom just set 2 years ago. Crazy performance by those Chargers this year.
And congrats to Britton-Hecla. That was one of the funnest championship games in 9A.
16 years since they've been to the Dome.
As they go to overtime to beat Corsica-Stickney.
That's why you go to the games, to feel the energy in those close games like that.
All right, on Saturday, 11A, Madison, Dakota Valley. Who you got?
Madison pulls away at the end for a 2-score win.
3A championship game, Sioux Falls, Washington, Sioux Falls, Roosevelt.
I think it's going to be closer than people think, but still, more than 10 points. Double-digit win for Sioux Falls, Washington.
Washington beat them 41-7 during this season. We'll see
much closer
if the Riders keep that close. Saturday, college football here on Midco Sports Network, 1 o'clock Eastern Washington at UND, 2 o'clock Illinois State at South Dakota State on Midco Sports Network 2. Thanks for watching.